Okay, day 2 of the G&L fretless, fretted to fretless conversion. I've taken a fret saw and cleaned out these frets and made the radius perfect with the board, which is actually 14. I thought it was 12. I have this little piece of sandpaper on here because I'm radiusing the bottom of this bird's eye maple veneer I have. See the bird's eye, pretty cool. Here's one. I wanted to put one in, and it's not perfectly sanded or anything, but you can get a idea. It's a little strange. You can see some of the bird's eye through it, even though it's that thin. So, and this is a flush saw, which is perfect for cutting the frets down. I can't stress enough having the right tools for the job. So what I'm doing is, this is a big eraser for school. It's an eraser for belt sanders to take clogged up sanding belts and clean them out. So it makes a great surface for cutting this stuff. It came from a large piece of veneer, which I have for headstock, but I can donate a little bit of veneer to the cause. So anyway, I got a, this is also a fret cleaner. I think Stu Mack has a pretty good amount of my kids' inheritance. So what I want to do is cut it to about where the length needs to be. Doesn't like to cut against the grain so much. Stuff snaps pretty easy though. But that's about the size of a piece, maybe a little bigger than I need. But then what I've done is I gave this thing a light sanding, but I have a piece of tacky strip sandpaper. It's 220, and I'm going to put the radius of the neck and inside the fret slots into this piece of veneer, because I want it to sit flush with the bottom of the fret slot that I've cleaned out, and I don't want there to be a huge gap, because I don't want 9,000 pounds of crazy glue in there. There's a big tone wood debate, you know. I'm not going to get into that, maybe a little bit while I'm doing this. But let's just say crazy glue wouldn't make a very good tone wood. Okay, so now this has a radius on it. I don't know if you can see that a little bit. So let me bring this fret up that I'm going to be doing. So this is the second fret, or second fret slot. And the fret saw, I have a Japanese, it's just snug. It's like perfect. So the fret saw that I bought is also a Stu Mack piece. And I bought the jig too. I'm going to be fretting some fingerboards here shortly, but I'll just show you through the package. It's a Japanese fret saw, and then it also has this clear plastic guide, so you can set the depth, and it will follow the radius and only go so deep. Turns out that as low as it can go is perfect for this. You know, I'm not doing frets, so just hanging my stuff back up there. Desk is a mess. So anyway, that's in there nice and snug. So I have pipettes, but my crazy glue is a little bit whacked out, the tip, because I've opened it and used it so many times, so a little ugly there. Well, what I'm doing is just putting a drop and wiping any excess off the sides. One drop will travel and get in there pretty good. Yeah, I could tape it off. Yeah, I know. I'm going to be giving this thing a light sanding all over anyway, because later on I'm going to give this thing a And there we go. There's enough on both sides. Now you can see it's wet. Probably the best way to do it would be use a pipette and a clean Crazy Glue bottle. But I don't have any real problem with it running. So you wipe it off right away. So the Crazy Glue does get into the rosewood pores a little bit. I mean, I sanded that lightly. It needs to be sanded more. I have a 12-inch sanding beam. This is 14-inch radius. And as things go, I got a 14, I got a 16, 18, and a 20. And not a, I mean, I have a 12, 16, and 18, and 20. I don't have a 14. I checked the radius of the radius guides from StewMac. And I just went upstairs and actually ordered a couple. The wooden ones, the metal ones, which are killer, are $136 from Mr. Stew, Mr. Mac. Awesome. You know, this is 12-inch, and figures I need a 14. I also have wooden ones too, which are much cheaper. An 8-inch one's like 16 something. So I got a 14 and a 15 just in case. So because what I'm going to want to do is actually take it down a little bit. I mean, the Crazy Glue goes in. I am going to be doing a coating on this. I owned a Padula before with a crazy epoxy or whatever it is coating on it. I didn't care for the tone of it much. I mean, it sounded great, had a ton of attack. But you hear that string, if you're using round wound, slap against a plasticky kind of tone. I play with some treble on, and some people play flat. I think if you're a flat guy, it's not nearly as much of a problem. But I like to play some treble, have some treble on my preamp. So when you do that, a composite neck from Zahn or from Moses, you hear the material that the neck's made out of. Now, I know there's a million of these debates about tone wood, and let's just say there's so many debates proving it that it doesn't make sense. Most of them are guitar. I think there's a lot more mass with a bass string, so if it is going to make a difference, it's going to be on a bass, not a guitar. Let me hang this other saw up. But let's just say with as many videos that there is on YouTube of guys disproving it and guys proving it, let's just say if it does make a difference, it's negligible. And then once you change what kind of strings or the position of the pickups or the player itself, those things all have a bigger impact than, let's just say, the tone of the wood. But you know, most of the time those guys are doing those tests, they're using pieces of junk pickups and pieces of junk guitars because they don't want to cut up and do all that stuff with high-end equipment. I understand, but that kind of proves that junk doesn't reveal junk. I'm going to hit this with a little accelerator because I'm going to want to saw it. So, little accelerator there, and this fretboard is going to be sanded down, and so now this Crazy Glue, the accelerator, obviously speeds up the drying process of the Crazy Glue. So I'm going to clamp this thing to my bench. Not hard, just enough so it doesn't move around. And this company, I use their scrapers. I have another big saw from them. It's an English company, Crown Tools from Sheffield, England. Stuff's great. So the nice thing about a flush cut saw, it's going to conform to the fingerboard, but I wouldn't come straight at it. I'd come on a little angle so it doesn't snap. You know what? I got to clamp the headstock down flat. So I'm going to hold this. Starting to break, so what happens is then it gets away from you and you lose the radius, but you know, we're gonna trim it and clean it and sand it and do all that stuff. So let me do this. I don't want it to splinter off and break below the surface of the fingerboard, obviously. Kind of defeats the purpose. And a nice, okay, so it's rough. And then that'll be sanded off. And yeah, it's ugly. There's crazy glue around it. This is, when I get that radius block, I'm gonna do it with the 120 and then a 220 and put the radius back in this guy, clean up all that stuff. I don't want to take a lot of material off. The fingerboard is pretty thick on this guy. I don't know if it's a 1/4 inch, but it's close to it. So, and I'll trim these sides up later. But the guys that use like wood putty, it tends to fill in some of these if they didn't use a good tool to take the frets out, or there's some gaps because of where the wood possibly splintered or lifted up just even a little bit on the top, then their little nice straight line has wiggles in it, and I think it looks like shit personally. And if you're going to do a job and spend a lot of time on it, you might as well do it correctly, or at least as good as you can. So I have to repeat this. I did 19 more times, and that's phase 2. So I'll do that off camera and come back and make my way all the way down. By the time I'm done that, I will hopefully, it's Saturday, by Wednesday or so, my Stu Mac stuff should arrive and do, you know, the hardest thing to have when doing anything for me with building or repairing stuff is having patience, especially if I'm waiting for the correct tool. I just want to get it done. But let me show you where this is going to go. So this is how it looks, and the body's over here. So it's Black Limba, Wenge, Sapelli, Purple Heart. It's kind of 7 pieces. I have it on my bench because I'm using an angle grinder to do some of the shaping with it. Came out really nice. And that rosewood is going to look like it's going to almost look like a one piece neck through, even though it's not. I'm not trying to fool anybody, but it'll just look nice because it's just as wide as this. So it's another base I'm working on. We've got some ash, some maple, nice quilt. This is my guy, my donut of death that I use for some big shaping. This guy to do belly contours and general shaping, but I'll get to that later and stick with the neck. So there you have it. Alrighty, thanks for tuning in.